Hello everybody and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I'm Julia and I'm glad you're here with me today. I have some fun little cards to make with you, and they use a variety of inks and stamps and stuff, and so let me show you some examples. I'll have them here somewhere. These all start with a plain white sheet of paper, and here's a Christmas tree and another Christmas tree. Now I went a little darker around the outside edge of this, plus I put a little bit of black Sharpie just around the edge, so you can see there is a little difference to these two cards, but the concept's basically the same. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then here's one that's the same card, just a different shape for an ornament on a tree. And so today I thought we might do a heart-shaped ornament, and I'll show you how I make these really quickly. But let me go through the list of stuff that we're probably going to need. Now, you'll notice that I've pulled out my Dollar Tree cutting board, and these are wonderful for doing any kind of blending on where you are going to get off the paper. I have some top fold A2 size cards, and then I have some panels that I cut down, and these are 3 3/4 by 5, and then I have one that is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4, and those are all part of the A2 layers sizes. So this is the first one that we talked about, and here's the second one that we talked about. Now, I've also cut out of a piece of scratch copy paper. Copy paper is thin, and that's what you want. You can use any kind of an old envelope that has come in, whatever, but you want it to be the same size. There's a Cordelia hair. You want it to be the same size as your cover sheet. And then we're going to take that, let me go through the rest of this list. I have a Ziploc bag that came in with some Happy Mail, and I have stuffed it with an old piece of tissue paper out of a package just to make a background stamp out of. I have some black and gray ink and my VersaFine Onyx Black. I have 3 stamps. One is a 1995 Stampin' Up! Snowflake Scene. Another is a 2004 Stampin' Up! Sentiment stamp that says, "It is Christmas in the heart that puts Christmas in the air." And then I have just a regular Merry Christmas, and I've got ink on my hands already. Imagine that. Let me get rid of that right quick. When I have VersaFine, I like to use alcohol to dissolve that so that we get it completely off of whatever surface or hand, in this case, that we're using. I also have a little small paintbrush. We are going to use a little bit of white acrylic paint. I have a jewel picker and my pair of tweezers. I have my chisel point, chisel tip black Sharpie, and just a basic gray alcohol marker. I have a silver metallic pen, and I may use that on the heart-shaped ornament, but I might go ahead and swap out to silver acrylic paint. Not sure about that yet. I have some 2mm gems in a pour-out tray, some scissors and some glue and some white paint. Oh, and on the scissors, I'm going to use my decal edge scissors today. I have some blending brushes, and then I have 3 different red pinks for an ombre. All right, let's get started. I want to show you how I do these steps for these cards, because as long as you have a pair of scissors and some ink, you can make these cards, I promise you. I take my little scrap piece of copy paper and fold it in half, and you remember, well, I hope you all remember making paper dolls. And if you don't, I'll bet there's a I'll bet there's a YouTube video on making paper dolls. Now, what I like to do with these is to kind of use the concept of thirds, and I want to have my heart kind of in the upper 2/3, so that will leave me some room in the lower third for my sentiment. And all I'm going to do is use my decal scissors and cut a little heart shape. And it does not have to be perfect. These are not perfect cards, but it does have to kind of look like art. That's always kind of helpful when you're doing these kind of things. So, there we go. So you see the positive and negative space there. And let's get started making this little ornament card. I'm going to take this lightest green, which is certainly celery. It could be any green that you want. And I'm going to take my Ziploc, my Ziploc sandwich bag tissue paper combination here. And all I'm going to do is make a background. Just kind of a general overall background that will give the impression of pine tree. That's all you're doing. It's just a vague impression for your mind to fill in the blanks. And then I'm going to close my ink up. I'm going to get my little water spritz and a dry baby wipe and clean my surface here so that I can try to keep ink off my fingers. You know, my fingers just attract ink. So, now, here's our little card front, and I'm going to take my little cover that exactly fits that, and I have some temporary cellophane ink here. Some temporary tape here. You can peel it back and reposition it. And you could use washi tape or whatever you want to. But I always usually try to put a fairly decent surface of tape down so that I don't have to worry about my paper shifting on this. And then I'm going to switch out to the reds and start with my lightest color. I'm only going to use one blending brush here. These are a little damp from where I washed them yesterday, but I believe they're going to be all right. And I'm just going to go ahead in and put some pink ink down first. And we're going to build this little ornament so that it has a little depth to it. And we're not going to cover completely with any one of these inks. You can see the shading kind of moves around in that one. And then I'm going to do the next darker ink, which in this particular case happens to be strawberry slush. So, and then we're going to come in a little darker. And again, I don't want to cover completely. I just want to have a little soft area inside that when I stamp down on it, it will be a little lighter and brighter than the outside. Now, I think we're through with that one. And we're going to come right back in with real red. And did you guess? We're just going to do the outside. Come on. And get a nice red heart going on that card. Don't want any specific angles on there. Like there's a little spot right there that needs to be kind of darkened up just a little bit. There. And that's all we need. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to my Memento Tuxedo Black ink and my little snowflake stamp. And I'm going to cover this heart with some snowflakes in that black ink. There we are. Maybe one more little bit right there. There we go. And now we can pull this little mask off. And I'm going to throw that out because my brush was just a little damp, so there's a little warp going on here. But I'm going to cover that right back up. And I'm going to come in with my gray flannel. You could use any gray ink, but it just needs to be lighter than black. And this does have a little residual black ink on it. Let me see if I can kind of get that to dry up some. There we go. And then we're just going to stamp around the outside edge and move your stamp so that your script moves and it tells the story of what it's trying to say. There. Starting to look like a card, isn't it? Okay, let me see. I want to go back to my Memento Black. And I'm going to get a blending brush. And I'm just going to do around the outside edges here. And all that will do then is to brighten up the inside of this card. And it will draw your eye right into that heart ornament that we're going to hang in just a minute. And I'm just turning my little piece here and trying to pull up as much ink as I can off of my little cutting mat and just adding a little bit more as I go. Then I'm going to go back in now to the corners and really darken up those corners just a little bit more. And that really heightens the brightness of the inside of this card center. Then you'll see in a minute when I take my hand away. It also kind of gives this a little vintage feel to it. See how nice that's going to be? Alright, let me clean my work surface up just a little touch here. Get my little water bottle back out. There we go. Now I'm going to take my black Sharpie and blacken that edge just a little bit so there's absolutely no white core paper showing on this. There. Now, this is just a little bit damp. I'm going to set this over in my nail dryer and let it dry up just a little bit. You can see it's kind of warped up just a touch, but I'm going to do that and then we'll come back and finish it in just a minute. Hang on. You may be able to hear the nail dryer going over there. While that's going on, I want to show you how to cut these other images so that there's no question about it. Now, let's do the Christmas tree first because it is really, probably of all of them, the easiest one to do. I don't have that folded just exactly in half. Let me try again and get a little bit better center line on that. There. And I am going to use my decal edge scissors again. And on this one I'm going to come up just a little bit. And then I'm going to curve the bottom just a touch. and come over to probably, it's about that far from the edge. And then I'm going to come up, I'm going to leave enough room to put my star on the top, but I don't want a whole lot more room than that. And now I'm just going to angle down and cut my little Christmas tree that way. If you don't have decal edge trimmers, decal edge scissors, don't worry about it. Just cut this with a regular pair of scissors. It's not that big of a deal to have decal or not decal. It doesn't matter. And then we go through the exact same process with these little copy paper masks, and end up eventually with a card that looks like this. Now this paper is going to be smaller than this, so the tree necessarily is a little smaller than this one, but the concept is the same. And the way you build these cards is the same. Let me show you about the center, the circle one that I've cut. I have a little small circle here that I like to use for cards. This is a, what do they call them? I don't even remember now, but you turn your glue upside down so the glue stays down in the tip. Never worked really well for me, but this little circle is a great size. You could do this, I suppose, with a punch. But I just find that this is an easy way to do it when you're in the middle of the process here. You'll notice that I have two little black lines on this, and they are directly opposite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit my little circle on there, on the lines, and just draw around. And I want to leave myself enough room at the top to draw my ornament hanger in a minute. I gotta get a pencil. Oh, there it is right there. I didn't see it. Okay. There. And there you go. Easy peasy. I'm going to use my little scissors and cut this circle out. And I'm going to take my time, because circles are can flatten out on you if you don't have a good curve going. When you're cutting things, fuzzy cutting, I always try to keep my scissors still and move my paper to the scissor, and I find that I get a much nicer, smoother cut that way. Now, what I like to do with a circle, since it's symmetrical all the way around, is I like to kind of mark the top. That way, when I'm using them, I can set it right back in, and if it's a little wonky on my cut, it won't make any difference on the masking property of this. This little piece had a little hole punched in it. I just covered it up with some of that tape. So there's the circle, and here's the tree. Let me go see if my little piece is finished yet. Hang on a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm going to get one of my top fold cards here and use my Books by Hand PVA glue on this piece and glue it right flat down. And use my tweezers so I have kind of good control over it. And this is the one that was just a little smaller. So it was the layer 3 design. Rub it from the back. I think this was mainly dry, but it might have been just a little tiny bit damp. I'm not sure. Now, let's see, what do I want to do first? Let's just go ahead and add the gray ink. And I want to add that as a shadow effect on my little heart. And so I'm just going to follow that little decal line there and add a little shadow in there. And that will kind of help lift the heart right up on off of this paper. I want to get my white acrylic paint. This I just got from Walmart. It's really inexpensive paint, but for me it's craft paint and it works very well for what I like to do with it. And I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm just going to put some little dots. I'm going to put some little dots on here to brighten this up just a little bit. And I want to add just a little bit of snow to the top of my element here. And I'm going to do that with little dots on my paintbrush. I don't want to drag a straight line in there. I just want to have some little snow dots. And this will add just a little bit of texture to this card. When you look at it, it won't dry flat. The acrylic paint has enough viscosity to it that it adds just a little bit of structure to the card itself. There we go. Now I want to put some little gems in here, and I think we'll use clear on this card. I have some red gems. They kind of get mixed up. Sometimes I'm a little shaky when I put them back in the thing, but honestly, I think they kind of slip over and have parties at night. I'm not sure. Okay, we're just going to do a few little gems here just to brighten this up just a little bit more. It won't take many. Let's start with 3 and see how that does. I like the small end of this little jewel picker for picking up. These are little 2mm gems and they're small. I've gotten hooked on these things this year. I like them. There we go. Now, let's see. What are we missing? A sentiment for the front, I think. Oh, and my little string to hang it on the tree. I have a little fine black. This is a Pigma Micron Pigma Micron 01 pen. And what I want to do is to draw a line, a little squiggly line, and I think I'm going to bring it right on up the top of the card. And then I'm going to go back with another little squiggly line. There we go. And I think I'm going to draw a little bow, a little double bow with some little tails on it. There we go. Now, I have a little Merry Christmas over here. And I'm going to use my decal edge scissors to give myself a little edge on those. And I'm going to set that right down there on a piece of tape, foam tape. Let's see, I have a piece right here to cut. We've been busy this week. And one of the things that I've been busy with is trying to figure out a plan for moving the studio. And I know some of you expressed an interest in this. So I thought what I would do is at the end of my videos, talk a little bit about how the move is going and what we're doing and where I am in it and my approach and that sort of thing. Because I don't want to bore people that are not interested in that. But I know some of you are interested in the process that I'm going through. So, when I get finished with this card, that's where we'll go. Now, let's see. I think I might want to bring that little gray line on up on this side as well, because it doesn't seem to be quite enough on just the one side. And I'm going to end it right there at that script. There we go. Now on the inside, I'm going to use this same stamp, only I'm going to change out to my VersaFine. And the sentiment is just so perfect for this card. It is Christmas in the heart that puts Christmas in the air. So I think this is going to be a really nice little Christmas card. And there we go. Card's finished. Let me show you the rest of them again. These are easy, quick cards to make, but they're fun, and people definitely know that they're handmade. Absolutely. Now, let's talk about moving. Let me scooch these out of the way. First of all, I went onto my computer and typed up some labels, and I will put those on the boxes with some packing tape. If it says storage, I know I don't need to open that until we get moved to the final house. But if it just says fragile and studio or just studio, I know those are boxes that I'll probably want to open throughout the next year so that we can use them. So that was my very first step in the process. Let's talk about step 2, because I have a list of all of my stamp drawers, and the yellow band is a small drawer, and then the white band are larger drawers, and then this is the drawer count. Well, I've gone through and identified, just as a preliminary list, the things I definitely want to delete. I never make golf cards anymore, and I don't ever do graduation cards anymore, so those can just be deleted entirely. I have several more down in through here. Some of them I'm going to make impressions of before I get rid of the stamp. Some of them I don't care because I'm never going to use them. But then I also have some drawers. Honestly, who needs 4 large drawers of bird stamps? Well, hello. I guess I do, but I really don't. So I'm going to go through those drawers and be stern with myself and try to get 4 down to 3. Because 3 drawers is a single unit. So when I want to pull my bird stamps out, I can pull the whole unit out of the storage, and they'll all be right there then. So that's that. I'm not even going to show you how many drawers of flowers I have. Gosh, Julia. Well, at any rate, it has been a labor of love, and I'm going to go through every one of those drawers that I have circled in red ink. But that's probably not the first step. However, I did want to show you this list of all the subjects that I have, and some of them are just going to go away entirely. More than this will go away entirely, but this is just my starting point. Okay, I'm going to take the camera down now, and we're going to go look at some things I've been working on this week and set my goals for the next week. So y'all can kind of keep me on task. Hang on a minute. So I have found some boxes from Lowe's in the small size, and this box is from Walmart in the small size. It's a heavier duty box, and they're both of them a little different shapes. And so in this box, I have packed one of the small stack drawers, and then I have put paper around it, and I have some of these green trays that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these are my some of my paper napkins. Some parts in the world call them serviettes. And then I have wrapped these with some shrink wrap. Let me show you that. This is the shrink wrap, and it's kind of like saran wrap or clear wrap. It's not as sticky as that, but when you stretch it, then it snags onto itself and it will hold things together. So that is going to be kind of an integral part of the packing up of things in the studio. And I'll post a link to this shrink wrap down below. I don't know if it's shrink wrap or stretch wrap. But anyway, you'll see it down below because I think this is going to be a very handy packing tool to have. Now let's go look again. In this box, I have 12 by 12 paper. And I have one of my washi tape cases. These are CD cases. I don't know if I've ever shown you these or not. But this is how I store my washi tape. And it happens to fit very nicely in this particular box with some of my 12 by 12 paper in storage cases. And then I have some of these little cube things that I just put in there for a little soft bolster between some of these big paper cases. Now, on both of these boxes, I'll do a complete list of what's in the box. There's Snickers. Hey, Puss Puss. And there goes Cordelia. Get out of my studio. Anyway, I'll do a complete list on the outside of all of these boxes. Now, for this next week, what I'm hoping to do is to get these cases gone through and pull the stamps out that I don't want to keep, and then get them packed up into boxes like this so that they'll be ready to move these bookshelves next month when we make our first move. And so that's the update on what we're doing here. And I will talk to you again next week. And I hope you have a great week. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.